The global stock markets came down recently, but is there a chance for a turnaround? There is. Let's have a closer look at the different markets around the globe and see what is happening next. Yeah, is there some hope? That's the question. The market came down severely for some market, or at least for some branches, especially the tech market came down. You could see that the Nasdaq was really strong on the downtrend, and that's the first one we want to have a closer look at, because this is maybe some kind of a leading market, at least for some parts of the industry. So let's have a closer look here. In the 4-hourly chart, you could see that the market was really coming down in a really strong way. So this is giving us not the best situation for buying, isn't it? Yes, indeed. It is really a weak market. And as you can see, we had some counter movements here in this downtrend. However, these were not super strong. These have been only for a short time period of time. And there's no overlapping. And overlapping normally indicates that this is a counter trend, but there's no overlapping. So this seems to indicate that this is a strong direction, which is completely countermeasuring this uptrend. We had this here. In this part, I also said, well, this is a really strong movement. So maybe we can expect, in case the market is just coming down in a corrective pattern, let's say something like an ABC pattern, or maybe with some kind of overlapping here like this, then we would have a good chance that the market will continue when breaking through this intermediate highs. However, this never happened. The market did not come down like this. It came down in a strong movement, which appears to be something like an impulsive move, or part of an impulsive move. I'm not 100% sure. It seems a little bit like a first wave and counter movement, and then it is a little bit difficult because the internal wave of the third wave of an impulse can never be a three-wave pattern. So it seems a little bit like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe a fourth wave is coming, and then a fifth wave. And then this all together, what I've drawn here, is indicating some kind of an impulsive move, and would lead after a corrective phase to further down moves. Maybe you can remember that I was drawing this some times ago, that I would expect something like this. I did not specify exactly how this middle part should be. It can be something like an ABC pattern. But if you have a closer look at this part here, you can see in daily part, most probably it is looking roughly like this. And we have something like an ABC upwards, ABC to the down, and a strong move to the upside, which is indicating something like a flat pattern from here to here. And a flat pattern is really typical corrective pattern. Half of all the corrective patterns are sideways patterns, and most of them are flats. So this would perfectly fit into the idea that this is the first part of the downtrend. We have the counter movement, and the next one is a continuation to lower ends here as well. So I think we still have a good chance that we can reach levels around 12,000, maybe a little bit below. There's a cluster from all these patterns here internally. So I would expect that this is a really nice chance that the market is leading us into this area here. So it is not only this here, because we've reached that already, but this is not a really corrective pattern. So currently I would think that we need something like a continuation. It can be a little bit higher, it can be a little bit below that, but I would suggest something around 12,000. Well, let's do something like this, would be the perfect fit for this pattern here, a continuation to the downside. And all we have here on the intraday chart here, for example, the 4-hourly chart, is leading us to the same idea. This is a strong movement. Maybe we have some corrective pattern here. This is fantasy. This is just an idea what is happening. I don't know this is coming, but it would be fitting. It would fit perfectly. It would be the perfect match for this quite impulsive looking part we've seen here in this part here of the chart. So it seems that the high-tech market, the Nasdaq in the US, is really prepared for further losses. Maybe not now. Currently we are coming up a little bit. You can see here in an internal chart, 15-minute chart for example, that the market after the Easter weekend is coming up a little bit. So I think we have something like a counter movement here, but as I've drawn it here before, this would not harm the bearish trend at all, even when coming up a little bit, as long as this is corrective pattern like. It is speaking for a continuation for lower levels in the aftermath. So what is the broader market giving us? The S&P 500, and the funny thing is that this is not 100% in sync, because the S&P 500 is giving us a little bit a different picture. In this case, it is something like a corrective pattern. You can see, I give you a better view on the big screen here. You can see that we have something like overlapping. You can see this lowest point here and this highest point here. They were overlapping. The same here, overlapping with this part. So taking away all these old supportive levels, which did not turn the market so far. So we can take all of these away. The market is in the typical area for a corrective pattern. After a strong move to the upside, a shaky to the downside, the market has the best chance to continue to the upside. Well, but this does not fit together, right? Isn't it? Because the Nasdaq had a strong bearish signature, while this is giving us the indication that the downtrend we've seen here in the last few weeks have been just a corrective pattern, which should lead us to higher grounds here, for at least for a while. Why only for a while? Shouldn't it be the same like here again? No, not in this case, because this is not the first corrective pattern. We had a corrective pattern here, we had some here, so it is possible that we only get something like a fifth wave here, so that we have something like an first, second, third, fourth, and fifth wave here, something like this, which is also overlapping, which is not the best situation to countermeasure what we've seen here. So even in this market, whatever we see here is still giving us an opportunity that after this on daily chart ABC pattern here, something like a corrective pattern here, maybe directly, but suppose this is something like a corrective movement here, even when the market is coming up later, the market has better chances to go lower once more. And we have the room for that, because the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement is still a little bit away. So even if we have something like this again, this would bring us into the typical area of a corrective pattern, which might be the 38.2. It's not a must, it's not a promise that the market is always going there, but I think there are good chances that this is something we should keep in mind. So although the market here is giving us something like a corrective pattern and is giving us an idea that the market at least once more can go upside, I think it is not in the perfect shape to not come to these levels later on. So I'm not telling you to sell short the market, I'm not telling you anything, but I don't think it's a good time to sell short the market now to expect this, because typically something like this is not giving me a good entry for selling short. It is more giving me some kind of entries to buy the market when breaking the intermediate highs here, to at least come up a little bit, maybe to higher highs here, not the all-time high, but at least to this one. But I'm a little bit I'm fearing that this will happen in the aftermath, also knowing that the S&P 500 of course is a mixture of the high-tech market and the value market, the value stocks. However, the tech market is overweighted in this index. So you should expect that some weakness in the Nasdaq will also interfere with this index here and maybe push this market to lower prices as well. And this is quite interesting, as the Dow Jones is not affected by this very much. And you could see that also here we have something like a corrective pattern, but this corrective pattern looks really typical for a corrective pattern and is also indicating we have some chances for another rise here to at least overshoot 35,300, roughly 400, maybe 600, something around this, maybe a little bit higher than this as well. So I think if you want to buy a stock market in a bigger picture, I think the Dow Jones seems to be the best option, currently at least. From what I see here, it is the strongest, because the weakness of the down movement is indicating that the bulls are still there, but still waiting a little bit before buying again. I have made some drawings here and I kept them in this chart because I want to show you something. Typically, some people may think, yeah, well, maybe this spike here or the next one here is a good entry point for buying the market. And typically it is. But in this case, you can see that what we've seen from the lowest point here is very much overlapping. So you can see that also the uptrend here is not super convincing for a buying market. So you can see that the market currently is not knowing what to do. So many market participants are currently just being puzzled what is coming next. Is the market going upside in a strong movement? No, it's not. Is it going up somehow in a weak corrective pattern? Yes, it seems so. So I think that some market participants are sitting at the sideline, not bringing in their money to buy, because they are not really convinced what the market is giving us here in the US markets at all. Neither the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones we have had a closer look at. So before coming to the Far East, which is quite interesting in my eyes as well, we should have a closer look to the European markets, starting with the DAX in this case. And the DAX also, some people are still thinking, this seems to be a good opportunity here to wait for this setback, and we've reached into this zone here. You can see that from mid of March or early in March, the market came up quite strongly and now is coming up down in a shaky way. But if you have a closer look here on the index in the 4-hourly chart, for example, you can see that this is without any overlapping. So this part of the chart does not typically look like a corrective pattern. It is more looking like what we've seen in the Nasdaq. It is more looking like a strong movement to the downside, which is giving me a bad feeling for just buying and saying, nothing, we should expect nothing worse. There's, of course, still a little bit of a chance that the market will do this one. But I think it might be also from roughly that pattern, which some people are asking me, can this be that this is a 5-wave C wave of a flat? You may remember what we've talking about before, that this is the first movement here, and from here on we have a flat, an A to the downside, a B to the upside, which you can easily understand from this ABC pattern here in the mid part, which is a really typical mid part of a flat, and the impulsive move or impulse looking pattern we have here. We still have a chance that the market is continuing to the upside and not following this idea. We have both chances. However, in a 15-minute chance, please keep in mind that on Monday, it's Easter Monday currently, so the German market is closed. It's only the US market open currently. But that this pattern here in the 50-minute chart is giving us an impression, this seems to be a good, strong movement. This seems to be a shaky movement with overlapping and a continuation to the upside. There is a chance that this will continue to the upside. So I'm not against buying because of this pattern, but keep in mind, if you realize that this part here is only something ABC and breaking through this level, I think closing the long position, the possible long position, is the better choice, because we may expect something like this continuation, maybe to the next level here, which is the 50% Fibonacci retracement levels. And you can see we have several levels here as well, from symmetry, from extension and others. So you can see it is roughly around, let's say, 13,700. It is plus minus, let's say 50 points, roughly a little bit more than 50 points. But this is the next target level if the market is only doing this. And if you're on the bull side, because what I've shown you on the 50-minute chart, it's okay. But keep in mind, a good stop might be this low here, which is not to be seen here currently, maybe. But if you get something like a corrective pattern like this, then the market is breaking here, then please expect something like this. Be prepared. And depending where this end is, it can be a little bit higher, of course. So it depending on this one, that the market is continuing. I've drawn this a little bit too long. If you have this one roughly same size, then it may even fall below this one, but at least I see some support here. So you can expect something from breaking this level here. So I have to adapt this a little bit, depending on where this is. This is not known where it is. So please don't try to realize what level it is. Depends what the market is giving us here. This is still in the future. I don't know this level now. But if you realize this is something like an ABC or super corrective pattern, something like an ABC, you know, these intermediate lows here are breaking points or entry points here for selling short the market, or at least if you're on the bull side here at that point, please think about selling short, or if not selling short, at least close your long position for a while, and expect that the market at minimum is reaching this level or even maybe below. Or if everything is turning bad, especially the geopolitical situation maybe, or the US market is going down really strong, that the market is even undershooting this one and continuing here to lower price levels as well, which we still can expect. But I think the chances are better that this is not currently to be expected, that the market will plunge really, really fast in the very moment now. So that's what I see here from the German DAX. Let's have a closer look for the FSMI. That's the Swiss market index here, the future, the June contract in this case. And you can see this market did not have any setback at all. This is just a strong market to the upside. I would hope for something like an ABC pattern, but please don't get me wrong. When I'm drawing something like this, it is not given that this is necessarily coming up now. The market can continue furthermore, and from higher levels can come down here in an ABC pattern. But typically this occurs somewhen. But when you see something like this, then you can say, okay, this is giving me a good entry point. So I'm quite bullish from the current standpoint of view, but please don't buy now. Never buy after such a movement. I wait for price reduction. I'm a trader. As a trader, I want to have a better price. And a better price might be this one, because this may be a little bit cheaper, and also is giving me the indication that, okay, this is not the strongest movement. So this one is stronger, so I can expect that the market will continue this one. So this is not only giving me a better price, it is also giving me a confirmation that this is not the wrong that this is not the right direction. It's the wrong direction, and the market, when breaking these trigger levels here, will continue to higher levels in the aftermath. So that's something. This is quite similar with the FTSE 100. So if you want to have other indices as well from Europe, you may have a closer look here whether you see this already or not. But this is typically something you can expect when the market is doing such a price movement. What about the Nikkei? The Nikkei 225 currently came down, and I'm a little bit Yeah, I'm not feeling really convenient with this movement because, yes, after the strong movement here, this is something I really love. I want to see something reaching this level. Yeah, we have this. Yes, but unfortunately, I love to see ABC pattern, or if not ABC, something like a other corrective pattern. But to be honest, this looks a little bit suspicious for me. Is this really a corrective pattern or is this a strong movement? So I'm not really confident that this is a corrective pattern. So I'm holding back my money. I don't want to enter the bull market now because my expectation is that if this is the last strong movement, and this seems quite strong, and we have something like an ABC pattern here, maybe similar to from what I'm talking about the DAX, when the market is breaking these levels, I would sell short this market. So if you want to buy this, if you're a buyer or holding positions already, maybe keep in mind if you get something like an ABC pattern here, not at that point here. At that point, you don't know whether this is coming or that is coming. But when the market is breaking this, the bull market is for the time being over. And you could expect that the market is continuing at least once more to lower prices. And you can try to enter the market on a later point and or sell short at least for some time, because this is a strong, this is a weak movement. So this is something I would expect. Currently, it is really tough to say because this one was strong, this one is quite strong, this one is strong. So all market direction, whatever you're looking at, they are looking really, really strong. So this is indicating that the market participants are a little bit fearful. They are afraid what the market is doing now. So I would recommend to stay at the sideline. If you are in the market already, keep in mind that the latest strong movement is giving us for a certain time the next direction. For example, if you see this one and say, oh, this is a strong one and we have something corrective here and you want to buy, it's okay. But remember, it is this one we can expect here once more. And from here, it is unclear whether we get a continuation or a turnaround. So please don't overestimate, it's a strong movement here, this will lead us to heaven. And also vice versa. Oh, this is really bearish, this will lead us to zero. No, of course not. But it is giving us a chance to at least do something similar like this, as long as the market is breaking through these intermediate lows here. What about Hong Kong? Hong Kong is also in a breather currently, not knowing exactly what they want to do. We had the last price movement here to the upside, also in a corrective pattern in Hong Kong or in the Hang Seng index here. So it is a little bit unclear. I would also wait a little bit here until the market is giving me a clearer direction. Currently it is not. And last but not least, the Shanghai Composite index is roughly the same picture, but you can also see that also to the upside it is really shaky. So this is not a really clear picture. So currently I think the ruling markets are once more the US indices, while the Nasdaq is leading more or less to lower prices. But I'm expecting something like a recovery in the next few hours maybe, or maybe next few days. But I would expect that the market has a better chance for lower price levels. I would expect that the Dow Jones has at least a chance for another gaining part in the market, so higher prices there are not super untypical. It seems a little bit awkward that the markets are walking in the other direction, but that's how it is. And you can see this one and compared to this one is giving us a clear different picture. So of course, normally they are walking into the same direction, but the market is giving us some different pattern synchronization. Maybe I give you a short idea how this may look like, because some people are thinking, yeah, but this is not possible. I think it's really important to understand this one. So this is market A, whatever it is, and this is market B, whatever it is. You can imagine one is the Dow Jones, one is the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq, or you can also apply this if you're trading the DAX, for example, and say, yeah, they are really connected to the US market. They always need to walk into the same direction. Well, that's not 100% sure or true. But you can expect, of course, if you have a good day in market A is a bullish market and the B is a bearish market in this case. You have a rising price here in A, and of course it's also moving upwards in the B market, whatever it is. But the next day is not so good. The next day is a little bit bad. You can see the market is coming down, and of course the B market is not against this, also coming down. And the next day is a better one again. You can see the market is continuing to the upside, and also the B market is not fighting against this, also moving upwards. And you can, of course, continue this idea if you have something like this, and the next day is up. You can have one down, and the next day is up, and you can see they were all moving into the same direction. This up movement was this up movement. This down movement was this down movement. But in the very end, you had a gain of this here. And at the very end, you had a loss here. So even when walking into the same direction for some hours, or while the trading hours, or for a certain time, the market can move differently because they have a different pattern. They have the bullish movements to the upside, so the strong movements to the upside, and they had the bearish movements to the upside, and the down movements have been the strong. The strong movements have been to the downside. So you can understand things like this can happen. So in this case, this might be something like the Nasdaq, and this might be something like the Dow Jones. It's not clear, but I want to stress that this can happen, even when some people are saying, no, this is not possible, the market is always moving into the same direction. No, not exactly. I overstressed it in my drawing before, of course, but you can understand, okay, it is not a one-on-one relationship that the market is always doing exactly the same. If so, we would not need 3 different indices. We can just have one and say, yeah, they are all moving in the same direction anyway. But if you're wondering about this one, you may have a closer look at Apple and Metaverse or Meta stock, for example, and you can see that even single stocks are not moving into the same direction, which is possible. And if you're not sure, you may try this by yourself. So that's it from my side. I hope this is helping you and giving you some inspiration what the market in the next time is doing, and how you can deal with the situations, how you can easily understand and early read how to deal the markets. I'm crossing my fingers for you, wishing all the best. Please don't forget to subscribe this channel, even if you like to see more. For example, my German videos, you may have an extra subscription here because there's 2 different channels. So if you want to watch both and follow both, please subscribe to both video channels so you can see, or YouTube channels so you can see and don't miss any of them. So that's it from my side. Have a good week. See you soon. Bye bye.